Hello? No sound, still no sound. Still no sound. Okay, now you can hear me. Please confirm. Hooray! All I needed is to refresh the page, which is quite ridiculous because I just conducted another webinar half an hour ago. And so should I just start from the beginning then? If you haven't heard anything, I should probably just start from the first slide. Why not? Okay, it's not a big deal. Let's restart. Do you mind? Do you mind if I will start? Okay, okay. So, okay, I will just summarize from where I started, if you don't mind. What I'm doing now is I'm rebuilding my websites on a new platform. As a result of that, I have to reread many of the materials, and this is the old material which I prepared in the year 2002, I think. And since then, it was a part of my Russian website, and it was there. And when I found it, I thought, this is a perfect example of the approach I'm trying to have in astrology, showing how in a very simple and in a very easy way you can get from astrology a very valuable and useful knowledge with minimal efforts, really. The efforts are not much more than with popular sun sign astrology, but I will show you that the amount of information you will have here is much more valuable. The information is a lot more valuable than in the sign astrology. Do you still hear me? Okay, good. So I hoped that you will get ready for yourself the ruler of the day of the week when you were born and the ruler of the year when you were born. Have you done that? Did you understand that? Do you have your own and maybe someone else's, maybe your child's, maybe your partner's ruler of the day of the week and ruler of the planetary year when you were born? For the day of the week, you can easily Google it, like day of week and the date, and Google will give you which day of the week it was. And for the rule of the year, I showed you that table. Maybe I should display it again. So I hope you will have, because currently I am just presenting the brief interpretations for the planets as the ruler of the year and as the ruler of the day. And I would wish you to compare them to the people who have these rulers of the year or of the day, how they match. Because these are very limited interpretations. These interpretations I've written, you could write probably better. You could write more. You could write more details. These are very brief interpretations which were written in 2002, and now I translated them from Russian into English, which is always a painful process. I would prefer to write in English from scratch. But this is what I have for now. Okay, let's continue then. Oof. Olga is not here today. This is why we were without sound. Right. Okay. So let's go on. So, Mercury is the year ruler. Interested in everything that happens in the world. Likes to be in the thick of events, to know everything about everything, to negotiate, confer, to play the role of an intermediary, the supply and demand, and how to bring them together. Deftly operates information, can be very mobile and changeable. So this is the image of Mercury when projected to the outside world, like when it is the ruler of the year. And when it is the ruler of the day, it's more private, it's more family oriented, it's more personal. So it's about wit, agility, ability to favorably demonstrate knowledge. This person needs communication. If there is nobody to speak or nothing to read, he or she will quickly get bored, can quickly change his or her mind and intention, often looks, this is what I find particularly interesting about people with who were born on Wednesday, basically, is that they often look younger than their years, than their proper years. The moon pays a lot of attention to the opinion of the collective, prefers to keep pace with everyone, attracted to those activities which are characterized by a steady rhythm, where there are no surprises, interested in agriculture, daily life, can show interest in pedagogy. Pedagogy. I don't know how to read this, sorry. And the moon as a day ruler is emotional, changeable, touchy. The mood changes according to the laws that are incomprehensible to others. Either very fond of doing housework or, on the contrary, feels extreme disgust towards it. I saw representatives of both camps, and easily finds a common language with young children, likes to mess with them, to play with them, maybe the better word. Saturn. By the way, I mentioned earlier, maybe you haven't heard me, I've got the Sun for the ruler of the year and Saturn for the ruler of the day. So this day ruler will be about me. Saturn, the year ruler. Striving for order, responsibility, systematicity. Not sure if there is such a word, but I tried to do my best. Likes clearly structured organizations and activities where everyone knows his or her place and the work obeys strict regulations. Prefers to deal with what is reliable and durable for ages. Can show interest in history, traditions, everything that has a touch of antiquity. And as the day ruler, it's serious, sometimes gloomy, can be hard to communicate to. When he or she concentrates on something, all other things get completely ignored. Sluggish, loves order, even if he does not participate in its maintenance. Often there is a certain amount of heaviness, perhaps because of excessive awareness of their responsibility. Often looks older than his years, and this is particularly true in my case because I always looked older than my peers. At school, my hair started getting gray when I was maybe 17 or something. So, and my nickname at school was Uncle Sasha, which is like I looked really older than everyone. Saturn, the day ruler. And yeah, all right. I just wanted to mention that sometimes the interesting thing about the day rulers is that they quite often show themselves in the peculiarities of how body works, and therefore in the problems, in the health problems people have. So the ruler of the day is more physical. The ruler of the year is more psychological, is an outside characteristic. Jupiter, the year ruler, interested in large-scale activities. By the way, I found that Putin, the president of Russia, has Jupiter for the year ruler. So I was very interested to read the text I've written many years ago. Interested in large-scale activities, being the president of Russia, one of them, especially ones that are associated with large distances, vast spaces. Likes to participate in the process of development and expansion. Inclined to engage in occupations related to higher education, science, international affairs. Jupiter is the day ruler. Wisdom and optimism, desire and ability to teach others, give them advice. Such a person does not trivialize, prefers to reason and act at the high level in general. Everything that he or she undertakes becomes large-scale and impressive, almost global. His or her spiritual generosity helps others to cope with difficulties. Okay, hopefully you still hear me. No, I now look in the chat window occasionally. And the seventh planet is Mars, the year ruler. Pay attention to this one, because the next slide I will be speaking about someone who has Mars for the year ruler. And I wonder if you will recognize straight away while I will be reading this. An attitude to life, which is usually called an active life position. The person needs to act to find a use for his or her energy. Otherwise, he or she can become aggressive, conflicting, destructive. Such people prefer to be where everything is boiling and fighting, where it is possible to compete, to prove something to someone, to shout and wave hands. Well, this is just one way to interpret it. There are many other ways, maybe better ways. And when Mars is the day ruler, which is again for President Putin, the person is active, energetic, clockwork. He or she willingly takes up his job, not thinking too much about its goal, just not to sit around. Such a person can easily lose his or her temper, but usually cools as quickly. He or she engages in sports or other activities that help to spend an excess of energy. So these are like brief interpretations just to get you started. You could probably interpret these planets in your own personal way. But how could we use this approach? We know the ruler of the year, we know the ruler of the day of the week for the person. So we already can see this person from two different sides. Imagine you're going for an interview with someone. And it's always good when you go for an interview to have some idea of what this person is like. What is his or her approach? What they expect from you and so on. So with the planetary rulers, you can have that idea. For example, let's say this person invited you for an interview. The year ruler is Mars, right? So which image this person projects to the outside world? Aggressive, right? Macho, like very manly. It's Mars, you know. It's rude, a bit too pushy, and so on. It's very, very much like him, like Trump's external image, isn't it? But if we look at the day ruler, it's Venus. It's the total opposite of it. So externally, it's this aggressive, pushy image, and internally, there is something totally different. It might be hidden from the outside world, but he might be. This picture I'm showing here is very interesting. It's from his resort, one thing I know about him, I don't know a lot, but I know about him that he and his family own a lot of luxurious resorts around the world. And this is his main one in Florida. Mar-a-Lago, don't know how to pronounce it. But it is interesting then that in this resort he has a picture of him, a painting of him, right? Very much like Venus, isn't it? And luxurious resort where people enjoy themselves. It's like Venus, isn't it? And look at this photo. I think these are some ladies founders of this resort or something. But look at this. Isn't this all about Venus in this picture? And there were some other pictures of Trump in this resort, in this absolutely beautiful, luxurious spaces. I cannot call it rooms or something. It's amazing, and that's just the other side. So knowing the planetary rulers, we can suspect. Well, if we, for example, it's not Trump. It's like some boss who invited you for an interview. You could think, okay, he might be a bit aggressive during the interview. He might be a bit pushy in the beginning, but then by the end, during the work, when we will be doing some things together, he might be totally different. That's something you can discover about the other person just by knowing their birth date. So what's interesting about this approach is that astrology here becomes as simple as numerology. Because in numerology, you can find out that the person was born like on the 5th of some month and say, okay, the 5th, we already have the number 5. And we know from this a lot already from the symbolism of number 5. Similarly, here we know, this person was born in the year of Mars. So we know what Mars is. But on the day of Venus, and we know what Venus is, it's quite simple, isn't it? And at the same time revealing. By the way, do you find, one of his favorite words is beautiful. It's interesting, isn't it? So, are you finding some truth in the interpretations that I offered when comparing to your own planetary rulers? Or did you find out your planetary rulers or not yet? Okay, let's continue. One more thing which you can do with the planetary rulers is just have a look at the natal chart. If you know what natal chart is, because maybe not, but if you know, you can see where the planet is located. The planetary ruler of the year is right on the ascendant, which explains a lot. This is an important planet for him. And this is very important on the ascendant, Mars and Leo. This explains a lot about his behavior, about the words he chooses, the things he does. But then we also know that Venus is an important planet for him. And Venus is not in the ascendant, it's in the 11th house with friends. And it's in Cancer, in a homely, family-oriented sign. And it's in conjunction with Saturn, which is very sober and very clumsy here in detriment, actually. It's a totally different kind of energy of the same person. And we know that each year has some planetary ruler. And when you know, for example, now is 2017 is the year of the sun. And you can think that the sun is in the 10th house of this person. So probably the year of the sun brings to him events of the 10th house. And this is how it works. I will return to this idea in a while. So when we were speaking about the ruler of the year when the person was born, but as I just mentioned, each and every year has a planetary ruler. So what I would advise you is to pay attention to the rulers of the years. And especially if they're also the rulers of your birth year or birthday. Let me show you. Let's return to that. I will need to click a few times. let's return to this table, this one. Sometimes planet work according to their essential nature. For example, Jupiter is about foreign travel, like, right? And about other countries and so on. And it's interesting for me that my very first trip abroad happened in the year 1994. This was a major event for me. 1994 was my first when I traveled to a different country. And 7 years later, 2001, it was the year when I moved to Cyprus, which was again an amazing thing for me. And sometimes, but still, the years which are ruled by the planetary ruler of your birth can be very important. For example, I was born in the year of the sun, and now is the year of the sun. And what's happening? And the sun, my sun is in the 6th house, and I find that when this is the year of the sun, something changes in a very major way in my work. For example, this year I'm leaving behind contracting, IT contracting, and doing astrology. 7 years before that, I moved from Scotland to England, which was a major work-related move for me again. And I stopped working on permanent jobs and started IT contracting then. So it's very interesting to see. And it is also advised to see what's happening in the year when your ruler of the weekday of your birth rules the year. So for me it was 2007, the year of Saturn, 2014. There are other totally different things. I have a feeling like in the year of Saturn, I initiate something or lay down foundation for certain things. And then for example, I started iPhone programming in 2007. And by 2010, I achieved such a proficiency that I was able to move and to get a very, very highly paid and important job near London. This is how it works for me. Your rhythm may be totally different because you have a unique birth chart, but pay attention to how the planetary rulers of the years change and what happened to you in the past, and you can foresee what will happen in the future then. Now let's return to the slides. Now, you probably know that there is also a planetary ruler of the hour of birth. And that's something I'm not ready to give you interpretations yet, because I keep thinking about how what does it mean? What does the planetary ruler of the hour of birth mean? And by now, my understanding is that it's a little bit like Atmakaraka in Jyotish. So it shows you the planet which is of special importance for you, because this planet in the chart might show you the way to go to achieve some result. It's not necessarily an easy result, but it's maybe the path which you should follow to do what you came to do on this earth. And to give you an example, I was born in the hour of the moon, during the moon hour. And when I look what I was able to create in this world, first of all, it's my Lunarium website. It attracts tens of thousands people every day. This is my most successful project so far. Of all the projects I've done in my life, this is the most successful and the most important. Lunarium, the moon. And on this website, the most important page, which brings the most visitors, is the moon sign calculator. Moon sign calculator. People who are familiar with popular astrology only and who only know their star sign come and discover that they also have the moon sign. And for many of them, it becomes a discovery. So I'm changing a little bit, the world a little bit. I'm helping people to discover their moon sign. And it's again the moon. And lunar calendars on this website are the second most important feature. And funny enough, I created about a dozen of mobile apps. And of them, the only one which is really successful and which was downloaded by thousands of people is iLuna. It was the very first app I created. And I could never repeat the success of this app. It's still the most popular. So I think this is all I had to tell you. The only one thing: do you know how to find out the planetary hour of your birth? How would you do that? Can you find the planetary hour or when you were born? No. Do you want me to show you an easy way? Do you remember? I was speaking about the software, the free software, which is called Z. Have you heard already? Yeah. So let me show you. Let me show you in a moment. I will move a little bit things on the screen. And I will launch my virtual machine because I'm working on a Mac, and this software is Windows only. I will need a few minutes to prepare everything. Okay, so now you see my virtual machine with Z running in it. And here in the previous webinar, we were figuring out how to use Z to create Vedic charts for Jyotish. And this is not a Vedic chart. This is a traditional European chart, but doesn't matter which chart is displayed, because the chart doesn't matter. You know how to create a chart with Z, do you? I created a few recordings for you showing how to use Z to create a chart. Was it in the major astrology webinar somewhere there? Now, the thing is, whenever you create a chart let's open some charts like this, for example, and to avoid confusion, let's just switch to a more traditional chart format. Doesn't matter. This is the chart. The end of significant relationship. This is the event chart, but doesn't matter. We can always find the planetary hour for any chart in Z. Look at this hour and the moon. Moon hour. Can you see? Can you see it displayed? Moon hour. When you hover the cursor here. And to switch on this feature, you need to go to settings, chart settings, and it's the very first tab, I think. Format. Yes. And you just need to tick this box, planetary hours. You see? It appears and disappears. Hour. For any chart, if you create your own chart in Z, and it's free, and it can be downloaded for free, you can automatically get the planetary hour of birth. And here it is. Is it clear? Do you have any questions? No questions? What would you say? Do these planetary rulers of the year and of the day of the week, do they make sense to you? Do you think like they're telling something about the people you know? All right. Okay, great. Thank you very much. This knowledge of the planetary rulers of the year, I don't really know where it comes from, but I've got the table from my teacher of astrology. She also got it from some traditional source. I don't know which exactly, but I follow this table and it makes a lot of sense to me. It does work as expected. It really makes a lot of sense to me. So please have a go, try it. And also one interesting aspect for me is how the ruler of the day of the week. It's like, a person was born on Monday, and you can expect that it's really physical. It can really show itself in the way how the body works, and it can show itself in health problems. This is quite amazing for me. So yeah, planetary hours, yes, planetary hours are used in many different traditions, but planetary years, yes, they're not so well known. They're not so well known, but they can be quite useful for just general, if you know nothing about the person, but you know the year when the person was born, you can already find out something because you will know the planetary rule of the year, and that's already something. Look like Mars came up with Trump. I think that's quite amazing. One important detail. Traditionally, they say that the year begins at vernal equinox, approximately, well, let's say on the 21st of March. And if the person was born before the 21st of March, that's probably the previous year. For example, if you were born on the 10th of February, in the year for example, the year 2017, the year of the sun, but the person was born on the 10th of February. According to the traditional rule, we should say that that person was born in the previous planetary year, and that person's planetary ruler will not be the sun, it will be Mars. And a similar rule works with the days, because the day, it is believed that the day starts with the sunrise. For example, if we were born on Wednesday, but before the sunrise, in planetary terms, you would be born on Tuesday then, because Wednesday haven't started yet before the sunrise. That's the rule. So Mercury will be your ruler of the planetary day, of the day of the week, only if you were born after the sunrise on that day. But I should say, previously I would just give you the classical rule, this is how it is. Now I'm a bit more flexible about it, because I know some people who were born on Wednesday before the sunrise, and they very strongly match their description of Mercury. Both physically, they look much younger than their age, and in terms of their health problems and so on. So they do reflect this Mercury, even though they were born before the sunrise on Wednesday. And now I'm more flexible, and what I think about this is that, yes, okay, the traditional rule says that the day starts with sunrise, but we people, we associate the day with midnight, right? With the calendar day. So as soon as midnight has passed, it's already Wednesday, right? And the same with the year. We begin that the year starts on the 1st of January, not on 21st of March. And I think this our attitude, this our expectation that the year starts on the 1st of January, that the day starts at midnight, does influence the way our astrology works, basically. So I would say it's a little bit both. If the person was born before the sunrise, that person will have both the characteristic of the previous day ruler and of the day that started at midnight. But please have a look. Please share with me your observations, how you will find this working, what you will say, what your experience will show. Maybe it will be different. But I've told you both the traditional rule and what I'm now moving towards. Yes, the sunrise will depend on latitude, longitude, of course. Right. So you know how to find out the planetary hour of birth now easily with the help of that. There is another way. I can show you. There is another way, more traditional, let's say. We still have time. Let me show you something else. Let's go back to the slides. And let's find that chart of Trump. This is it. So we know that he was born on Friday, which is the day of Venus. And how the planetary hours work is that the day begins with the planetary hour of the ruler of the day, right? So after the sunrise, the first hour of Friday is ruled by Venus. That's just the definition of the planetary hours, how they're structured. So look at this sun, right? When the sun has just risen, where it was here just above the ascendant, right? And the whole day will continue until the daytime. The daytime will continue until the sun will reach the descendant. So here, while the sun is moving above the horizon, we have 12 hours of the day, right? And we have six houses of the horoscope. So each house has in it 2 hours. So I don't know if you follow me, but what I'm saying is that we can use the position of the sun to find out which day it is. Sorry, which hour of the day, when the person was born, in which hour of the day. If Trump was born during the first planetary hour of the day, his sun would be in the second half of the 12th house. If he was born on the second hour of the day, planetary hour of the day, his sun would be in the first half of the 12th house. The third planetary day would be the second half, the third planetary hour would be the second half of the 11th house. And the first half of the 11th house is the fourth planetary hour. And finally, we come to the real position of the sun in the second half of the 10th house. So this is the fifth planetary hour of the day that started from the planetary hour of Venus. So Venus is the first, then goes Mercury, then goes the Moon, then goes Saturn, and then goes Jupiter. So Trump was born without any calculations, just looking where the Sun is positioned and knowing the day of the week when the person was born. Just from looking at the chart, at the horoscope, I can find out that the planetary ruler of the hour when the person was born is Jupiter. Let's check if this is so. I will just create the chart for Trump in Z and see what Z will display. So it's 14th of June, 19. I need to open this somewhere to keep track of it. Here. So, what is... Right, I will show you my desktop again. Again Z. And let's create a chart for Trump. No matter what are the settings here are for major astrology, but doesn't matter. We go to horoscope, event data. I will use a different database. So we'll make it clean. Donald Trump. I hope you can see what I'm doing here. So Donald Trump. I have the European date format, not to forget that. So the date 14th of June 1946. 14th of June. 14th of June 1946. And the time 10:54 a.m. 10:54 a.m. And the location Jamaica, Queens. Let's try Atlas. Jamaica, New York, USA. I think it's this. Okay. And look, this is the planetary hour of the day. It just confirms what I found out without calculations, just by looking at the natal chart. The planetary hour of the birth of Trump's birth is Jupiter, the planetary ruler of the hour. So, which is in the second house. Yeah, we can see what Jupiter does in his chart. So, any questions, please? All right, someone is writing something. Okay. So I hope you will find some information which was useful in this presentation. Just another way to use astrology in a simple way so that it helps us in our lives. Right, I will give you a few more minutes, and if you won't have any questions, then I will probably complete this presentation, and you will find the recording. I will have this recording in a few hours, probably tomorrow morning. I will upload it to the school, to the place which you probably already know. You will find the recording and the slides as well in the school, in the Astro School, where the get-together webinars are placed. All right, thank you. All right, so thank you. Thank you very much for coming. And see you next time. Goodbye for now.